What if everything they told you was only part of the story? NASA has been scanning the universe for 60 years. There are things they found that they chose not to tell you, not because the discoveries were unimportant, because they were too important. Programs quietly shut down. Images altered. Scientists silenced. Today we go through 5 of those discoveries. 5 things NASA found and buried. Stay until number 1, because what they found in deep space and what happened to the telescope that found it will change the way you look at the night sky forever. July 25, 1976. NASA's Viking 1 spacecraft is orbiting Mars. Routine mission. Nothing unusual expected. Then a photograph comes back. And there, on the surface of another world, is a face. Not a shadow, not a trick of light. A face 3 kilometers wide. Symmetrical eye sockets. A raised ridge where the nose would be. A defined lower edge, like a mouth. Staring directly up at the sky, on a planet that was supposed to be dead. NASA's press officer laughed when he showed it to journalists, called it a trick of light and shadow, filed it away. And then for 22 years. They never sent another camera back to look properly. 22 years, multiple Mars missions, dramatically improved cameras, and the most significant surface feature ever photographed on another planet was left alone. What researchers found while NASA looked away, independent scientists refused to let it go. Using the best imaging tools available, they unaliased the original Viking photographs. What they found surrounding the face was not random geology. A 5-sided pyramid, a rectangular arrangement of mounds laid out in mathematical precision, and every single structure aligned to astronomical reference points. The Martian equinox sunrise, specific star positions, the same kind of intentional alignment found in ancient structures here on Earth when NASA finally returned in 1998. After 22 years, they photographed Cydonia under almost no shadows, direct overhead sun. The worst possible conditions. Independent imaging scientists called it out immediately. The lighting was chosen to hide detail, not reveal it. When better images in 2001 showed far more structure under proper lighting, NASA said nothing. No briefing. No paper. Silence. November 20th, 1969. Apollo 12. The moonwalk is done. Astronauts are back in the module. As planned, the empty descent stage is deliberately crashed onto the moon. A seismic test. The sensors record the impact. And the moon. Rings. Like a bell. For 55 minutes. A solid object absorbs impact energy in minutes. Rock, metal, geological formation, vibrations die fast. That is basic physics. But the moon did not behave like a solid object. The vibrations built. They resonated. They bounced back and forth. And they kept going for almost an hour. NASA's own Dr. Sean Solomon, a funded NASA scientist, speaking on record, said the Apollo experiment vastly improved the possibility that the moon is hollow at some depth. Those are his words. Published. Documented. From inside NASA. Then Apollo 13 made it stranger. After Apollo 13's near-fatal accident, the crippled service module was crashed onto the moon. The seismic sensors were still active. This time, the moon rang for over 3 hours. NASA's own technical papers described the data as anomalous, inconsistent with any known model for a solid planetary body. That data sat buried in technical journals for 15 years. Every press briefing gave partial explanations. The extreme anomalies were never addressed publicly. In 2010, 40 years later, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter confirmed vast underground cavern systems. Beneath the lunar surface, hollow lava tubes large enough to fit entire cities. NASA announced this, but they never connected it to 40 years of seismic data, showing the moon behaves like a hollow object. The data was always there. They just never told you what it meant. 1976, same Viking mission. While one camera was photographing the face, the onboard biology lab was running an experiment designed by NASA contractor Dr. Gilbert Levin. The principle was simple: add radioactive nutrients to Martian soil. If any microorganism consumes them, it releases radioactive coated, which the detector measures. July 30th, 1976. The detector spike. Strong. Clear. Textbook positive for biological activity. Dr. Levin believed they had found life on Mars. NASA's response came within days. Chemical false positive. They said hydrogen peroxide in the soil mimicking biology, not life. Just chemistry. Case closed. Dr. Levin spent 40 years publishing papers showing this explanation was scientifically impossible under actual Martian conditions. In 2019, he published in the journal Astrobiology, a peer-reviewed scientific journal, that the evidence for life on Mars was overcome by institutional inertia and political pressure. His words. In print, a NASA scientist accusing his own agency. The methane problem they cannot solve. In 2003, methane was detected in Mars's atmosphere, confirmed by the European Mars Express orbiter in 2004. Why does this matter? Methane breaks down under Martian UV radiation in 300 years. Any methane present today was produced recently. Something is actively making it, either geology. Or life. NASA's Curiosity rover detected seasonal methane spikes inside Gale crater. That data was held for years before public release. When a European spacecraft couldn't confirm the readings, NASA and ESA used it to suggest the earlier detections were wrong, even though the two spacecraft were measuring from completely different altitudes at different times. Atmospheric scientists called the comparison scientifically invalid. And when NASA announced in 2015 that liquid water flows seasonally on Mars, they called it a new discovery. What they didn't mention, independent researchers had submitted evidence for the same features a decade earlier, and NASA's own 1998 photos showed gullies their team first called possible water features before reclassifying them as wind erosion. The pattern is always the same. Find it, dismiss it, wait decades, rediscover it, call it new. 1969. The U.S. Air Force closes Project Blue Book, their official UFO investigation. Public statement: 94% of cases explained. No national security threat. Nothing extraterrestrial. Case closed. Except 701 cases out of 12. 618 investigated were officially classified as unknown, even after full military investigation by the most advanced military on Earth. 5% of everything they looked at, completely unexplained. And Project Blue Book. Was never the real investigation. It was the public face. The actual work was happening at classification levels that no one has ever had access to. And it never stopped. The programs they kept secret. TACUAP footage. White oblong craft. Gray military sky. Moving impossibly. In December 2017, the New York Times revealed a secret Pentagon program. AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. $22 million, running from 2007 to 2012. The classified reports described craft that accelerated from zero to hypersonic in a fraction of a second, hovered without any visible propulsion, moved between air and water without slowing, performed maneuvers that would kill any human pilot from G-force alone. In 2020, the Pentagon officially released 3 military encounter videos, confirmed them as real. Years of dismissal, officially confirmed real. Coverage lasted one news cycle. Then in July 2023, a decorated military intelligence officer named David Grush testified before the United States Congress. Under oath, he stated that the U.S. government possesses material evidence of non-human intelligence, craft of non-human origin, biological specimens recovered from crash sites, and that individuals involved in these programs had been threatened and harmed to maintain silence. This was sworn congressional testimony from a verified senior intelligence official. When former NASA Administrator Daniel Golden was asked whether NASA would be allowed to disclose extraterrestrial life if discovered, he paused for a long time and then said that would involve conversations at a level above my pay grade. The administrator of NASA, above his pay grade. August 15, 1977. Big Ear Radio Observatory, Ohio State University. Dr. Jerry Emin is a volunteer researcher. He is working with NASA's SETI program. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence, going through days-old printout data from an automatic telescope scan. It is routine work, columns of numbers and letters, each one representing signal strength at different radio frequencies. And then he sees it. 6EQ UJ5. A signal 30 times stronger than background noise, lasting exactly 72 seconds, the precise duration you'd expect from a deep space signal passing through the telescope's window. As Earth rotated, arriving at exactly 1420 megahertz, the hydrogen frequency, the one frequency scientists had specifically theorized any intelligent civilization would use to communicate, because hydrogen is the most common element in the universe, and any spacefaring intelligence would know it. Dr. Emmons circled it with a red pen and wrote one word next to it. While it remains, to this day, the strongest candidate for an extraterrestrial transmission ever detected by any instrument in human history, that it has never been explained, that it has never repeated. What they did next to discovery of this magnitude should have triggered a massive response. Multiple telescopes, coordinated searches, dedicated funding. NASA had all of it available. Instead, limited follow-up scans using the same single telescope. No multi-telescope coordination. No dedicated investigation launched. In 1993, 16 years later, NASA's SETI program finally received major funding. The High-Resolution Microwave Survey, the most sensitive alien signal search ever built. To large telescopes, advanced signal processing computers. Could detect signals thousands of times fainter than before. Congress canceled it after 1 year. The senator who personally led the campaign to kill it was Richard Bryan of Nevada. His reason? The program hadn't found aliens yet. After 12 months, Senator Bryan represented Nevada, the state that contains Area 51. In 2016, a paper claimed the WOW signal was caused by two comets. Headlines around the world declared the mystery solved. Dr. Emmons, the man who found the signal, immediately published a full rebuttal. Comets do not produce narrow-band signals at a single precise frequency. The physics was wrong. The orbital timing didn't match. The explanation failed. The comet theory is still listed as the leading explanation online. And in 1997, the Big Ear Radio Observatory, the telescope that detected the greatest candidate for alien contact in history,